Yo, what's up, guys? We got the decks here, and I think that this is one of the best updates, if not the best update, since pretty much out of farming. So what is decks all about? Well, I wrote down a whole bunch of notes, and we're just going to go through everything. I hope I'm not going to be sidetracking too much or overcomplicating things. It is a bit of a thing that at first you're thinking like, yo, what the fuck am I doing? But you just kind of get there at some point. So you do have this deck building thing right now. You do get those through shops. I think it is shop, and then where the hell this shit always at? Exchange? No, man, this is always so hard to find. Normal, buildings, and then you have it here on the top left. That is definitely something you should buy. It just makes things easier to have everything in one kind of place and kind of thing. It is not a must to use it over here, but it's just something that might be chill for you to do, to put decks in here and that kind of stuff. Oh, you can even rerun your Temple of Chaos right now while Temple of Chaos is not active. That's actually kind of cool, though. But yeah, let's just go for it one by one. First tip that I'm going to give is do not try to ruin everything in one day. You could be thinking like, oh, no, I have to do my Giants team and my Necro team and my Dragons team and my this team and my that team and like 16 arena teams and then 25 Siege Guild Battle teams that you can do right now. Don't do that. I would recommend you to, the moment that you switch from Giants to Dragons, for example, rune up your Dragons team, save that deck, then go on to the next. Moment you switch to your R5 team, rune up that R5 team, then go to the next. Because if you're going to be trying to rune everything in one day, it's going to be a lot. You're going to be spending a lot of time on it. And same for Siege. I would say for Siege, just use a hit, rune that up, save that deck, and then go to the next hit, save that deck, and then go to the next. You don't, sure, you could go like, I will probably take my time, but hey, for me, this is full-time job kind of thing. I will probably rune like 20 decks, and then I have like 5 decks like flexible, and I just add those in whenever I kind of feel like I need something. But in most cases, just rune something up on the first time, use that, and then switch on to the next, because otherwise you're going to burn out. Good things to know. It doesn't cost any mana to switch a deck, which is really nice. So let's say that you're switching your arena offense. Like normally I always burn through like 5 to 7 mil mana for every arena rush. That is no longer going to be the case, except defense. Defense is a little bit more different if you want to switch defense, but we'll talk about that in a second. So how do you notice that something is using a deck or a non-deck? Well, let's go to arena. And if we go to arena right here, you see 2 different things. You see the blue lines over here. Blue lines is always using decks, because if I were to add in this Wu Yong from normal, this Wu Yong has a very different stat over here than I have in this deck runed up, which is already preset. And therefore, you can notice the blue lines are decks. And you can also look at this like reddish purple. I have no clue what kind of color it is. Bordeaux red. Like I have no clue if that's even remotely close, but whatever. But you can put that over there. And then also non-blue is normal. So that's the main thing that you have over there. I'll showcase how to set one up in a second as well, but just going through the things you should know. You cannot put any duplicate runes towards your Siege defenses, and then also your World Guild Battle offenses and defenses. You can, however, use duplicates in Siege offenses. How would that look like if you want to force in a duplicate? Because that could be a thing. I do have that in my Rift Raids team. So in Rift Raids, you can also put up like all of those things. No, wait, I think I had it in this team. Yep. If I want to, like now I don't have any duplicate issues. But if I use my newest save state that I made over here, I will have a duplicate because I use this rune as I use this rune on you. And then it will also give a notification like, hey, you're trying to get a duplicate rune in there. That is not allowed. So that's one of those things to know. Also, if you're trying to save your current team, sometimes it doesn't show up. Like right now, it doesn't show up that, hey, I'm trying to save it. If you want to have it saved, just switch a position and then you have the save button over here so you don't have to reapply all the units yourself. And that is just for whatever reason. Sometimes like I notice myself not having the save state option right away. But yeah, just switch a position and you get the save state. So that's a nice thing to know as well. And then also for Siege defense, you're going to be having no duplicates allowed for runes. So let's say that you're running up your defense over here, but I would say, let's say that on you, I'm going to use the same rune that I have on the Zhongcheng Lauer. If I were to apply this, it would also take it off the Zhongshan Lao. Like it would say like, yeah, you guys are not ruined properly, but I also take it off the Zhongshan Lao. So that is just something to keep in mind, that your defense still has like one pile of rune sets, but you cannot use like your fastest set on every defense out there, which does make sense. For World Guild Battle, it's the same thing. For World Guild Battle, you actually have to get all of your units in runed at the same time. A thing that is pretty nice, however, is that you have different decks in here. So the decks that I just showcased on the side of Siege were the ones that start off with the Mirenes. So I can go for a best set on every individual Mirene, for example, which is a little bit easier to see if we go to this thing over here, attack. If we go to guild content, you have like the, well, you can even go for like labyrinths and all of that kind of crazy shit. You can even put your best set to fucking subjugation and that shit right now. So if you're kind of struggling with subjugation, like, yo, now you can make your teams on your best set and it's probably a lot easier. Same for like labyrinth bosses and all of that kind of good stuff. But for World Guild Battle, you have these things in here. And then for Siege, you will have more because you have 25 and it starts off with different things. You can, however, as mentioned, go for a duplicate set in this. So, for example, I have this set over here for the Dova Mirror Illusion. Let's actually look at it from the side of a Siege itself. I haven't set up everything properly just yet, but this is one set. Oh, that is actually one thing that is mentioned as a bug. The speed indicators over here are still showing the speed indicators as it is on like what you have in default, but it is a little bit annoying, but I'm 90% sure they will fix this shit. But if we go to this one over here, we can see that we have the exact same runes as we have over here, and that is no issue. However, for the third one, I haven't put up that team just yet, so you would have to go individually to every Mirene to add those runes, which is also one of those things. If you get one upgrade, let's say I'm getting a faster speed upgrade on the Mirene, I would have to place that on every Mirene out there. Is a little bit annoying, but it's like a first time thing that you have to set it up and then you just set it up from there. Which in this case, you kind of have to get used to where you're placing your runes right now. Because normally, like if you have your deck, you're used to it's like here and we go over here and the button is gone. So we can't click anything right now. But what you have to do is you go through edit deck, you go here, and then you go for the management, and then you go from here, and here's where you change your thing. So here's where you would have to put your Mirene to that whole Mirene set. It is a little bit more annoying because you can't really use this of like what we used to do is like, oh, let me just copy my other Mirene. That is not possible in here. So what you could do is set up your Mirene in default, and then from the default, you copy it in here. But then the issue is if you go for your third Mirene, you have to find your second Mirene first, get your second Mirene from default to your third Mirene, then go in here and then apply everything. So it is one of those things that it's kind of possible to do, but I would just recommend go individually one by one and just one by one rerune all the things. And as I mentioned, just do it on the fly. Like normally you would kind of switch things around back and forth anyways. Just do it on the fly once when you actually use it and don't try to preset everything at the same time. Sure, a lot of people will probably do that, but that's kind of a thing. Also, what you have to keep in mind, if you're using Siege, keep track of which Dova is which Dova. Because let's say that I want to add in another Siege hit in here, and I go for another combination of a Jin, which I have multiple of. But I do know that in this case, I already placed the first one over there, that this would have to be the second. And then for Dova, this is my fourth Dova team, that I would have to place the fourth Dova in here. And then also for the Lucian, I would have to place the fourth Lucian in here, which is a lot easier if you just do it on your Siege on the fly, because then you see it's like, oh, the other units aren't, or like the other units I already used. So it's a bit easier, and then you can just put those in here, or you just put them in there in the first place, and then you just save them as a deck later, because now you can just see it's like, oh, I didn't use these yet. And then we just save those as a deck, for example. So that is an easier way to do it. Just rune them up over here on the fly, and then put them in the deck later, and then you can just work your way around that. I think that that is probably the easiest way to do that. This part already mentioned. This one is actually an interesting one. You can use Arena Offense and Siege Offense runes at the same time right now, while it's also being used by your, well, offense and defense at the same time. Someone on Reddit did mention that that was not the case. And he showcased his team going in same team as he's using whatever offense and defense. I think he like did something wrong in saving things, because I tested the same stuff And that is what I have over here with this team over here. So we have full Swift set against, or with a full fight set over there. If we fight this with the versions of them, or sort of like the non-deck versions of them, it would look something like this, and I would simply be outsped, and that makes sense because it's saved in the defense. But if I were to use the preset that is exactly the same, or, well, yeah, pretty much same set, but different speed, you get the idea. And when you go in with the same set in here, we see that we're outspeeding and we're on the same speed. So it should be using, or being able to use same offense as defense for runes. And also we can check that over here if I go over here. At some point I did have it where I switched a bunch of runes and it showed as an indicator where my defense was unruned, but maybe it just takes a little bit of time to update, I don't know. But this Triton is a fast Triton set. That set I'm also using on the chilling over here. It's pretty much similar-ish runes. Like, you can see that slot 4 is used the same way as this slot 4. If I go in right now, you will still see the Triton being on will. If the Triton is on will, it's a duplicated rune, and the Triton is on will. So that is just very simple out there. So those are things that you can do. Also, what you can do right now is you can make your chilling faster set while also having a Camilla on a faster set, which is really nice. You can do a lot of creative offenses right now, and defense is really gonna suck ass. That is definitely going to be a thing. However, you can put like a faster set on your Triton in the other side as well. That's definitely an option. But offenses, I can create very specific offenses for a lot of things, because right now I have a lot of semi-overlapping offenses where it's like, oh, I use this, but a slight variation without too much reruning for this and that and blah, blah, blah. Right now, that's going to be a lot easier because I think a team like this, or maybe even a team like that, if I already have this one, I don't really need the other ones. Like similar for this one, it's like very much overlapping. I can go for more specific things. I can go for like a Jemire Adriana Doublelution, which is very rarely used, but against that one particular thing where it's good, it's actually really good. So I can go for very specific offenses in there. Plus, during the whole midweek, I can have my best offenses rune, because normally I was just doing this the whole midweek because the runes were mostly on like my World Guild Battle offenses or something like that, which was sharing, which is no longer the case, which is just super, super chill in the first place, which is just very nice. Bit of sidetracking, but also a bit of good information. So then we did already, the first setup, as I mentioned, will take a bit of time. I did also already discuss about if you want to put your best runes, let's say that we want to rune up the other Dova. So what we could do is what we did before. Let's say I have the runes on the second Dova right now. Do I have it on the second Dova? I have it on no Dova at the moment. Well, let's say that we put things on the second Dova in this case, which is this set over here with you, and you, and you. I've done this set way too many times. Bunch of those sets I know by heart, bunch of sets I don't know by heart. In the future, I won't know anything sets by heart anymore. But yeah, let's say that this was the Dova on the second one. If I want to rune up the third Dova right now, and I want to do it like this with like more of a copying style rather than reruning it from the deck altogether, what I can do is putting it in here, then copy this whole thing from, wait, where's that copy thing? Is this copy thing? Oh yeah, this copy thing in here you have to do slightly different, because in the monster select, the copying thing is a little bit easier. In here, it's maybe a little bit more annoying, but we can copy this. You can put that to there. And then you go for this, you put that on this one. Yep, makes sense. We have that over there. It's a little bit of a stretch, and therefore I won't really recommend to go this route when you're trying to up things. I would just, or like apply things, I would just apply it from here. So in here, we now have this. This Dova is unruned in here. It does show the rune state of the Dova that it is in normal. As I mentioned before, that's the bug with the indicator. But if I want to place it right now, I still have to get used to this myself as well, because I'm very used to it's like, hey, where's my button over here? That's not where you go. You go to edit decks. You go to the deck you want to edit. You go to this one, you go to manage, and then you go to runes. A little bit of a further stretch, but now you could do this, and then you have... Wait, is that the third? Oh, no, wait. I have to click on this one first. And now I can apply this if I was on this side. So, as I mentioned, you can copy from here, but it is a little bit more of a stretch. And I would personally just say it's like just rune everything up from... well, let's just save that for now. Probably will have to go through that later. But yeah, it's a little bit more of a stretch of going through things. So I would recommend to just get to this building or get to the content itself and just rune the things from there. It's nice to have a building where you have everything kind of in one place. Also over here, it does seem to be having the right indicators, and that is also kind of helpful as well to have the right indicators for your speed tuning and stuff, because that's just in general very useful. So I would recommend to rune up your stuff from here, unless you're just actively using it in your siege battle, and then just rune it up from there. Thing is that people might get lazy, and that is mainly, let's say that I go in with a Lucian hit, but in this case I have to do more damage on Dark because I'm hitting a Shumar or whatnot. Then it is still nice to say, okay, I don't want to use this artifact, but I have to go for a damage artifact on a specific element. What you can then do is you go over here, go over here, go over there, go over there, go over there, and then you would have to change your artifact towards a Dark artifact, for example. Do this, do this, do this. And then you would also once again have to save that to actually have that artifact applied in here for your damage on Dark. So I think because of this, people are going to be less bound to doing this. But if you're in the try-hard siege kind of scenario, I would recommend to always switch towards the right element. But that does also then mean that you would have to check every time. It's like, hey, my damage dealer, is it on damage on the right element kind of style? But that's more like top 10, maybe top 20 siege try-hard stuff, for the other people just go for something general and just like nuke it out. And if you don't nuke it, fuck it. Another thing that you can't really do right now is defense switching. So if you want to do defense switching, you only have one defense. And then I'm talking about the defense for your arena defense. I don't have multiple of this arena defense, where I do have, well, multiple of these over here, but if you do want to switch those things out, it's also a little bit different. But if I want to switch this to what I normally do is like, oh, I go for the typical Leo with like whatever I put with like a Leo, and I go for like a Camilla and that kind of stuff. If I want to do this, I would have to have this runed up in my default. So the only thing that your default is still good for is actually for your defense if you want to switch defense. And then you can decide, do you want to go for overlapping runes or non-overlapping runes? You could potentially still go for overlapping runes, but then you have to re-rune that on the spot. Otherwise, you don't have overlapping runes and you just rune up something, like you can just switch something, which I think towards the high end of arena defense right now, especially if you want to get Guardian 3, having a switch on your defense is definitely something you really should do. Something that someone is saying in the chat right now is it's better to save without artifacts in Siege, so you put the artifacts on later. Is an option, but you still have to save that deck to apply those runes, or like to apply those artifacts. So you will always apply with artifacts at some point, because if you want to, you cannot just get a save state and then not use or like apply the artifacts. You actually have to apply the whole set. It's like either apply all or apply nothing. So you cannot just be like what we had before. It's like, oh, apply a preset and then add 2-3 more things. No. You have to reset the preset to be a complete thing, which you kind of get used to at some point, I guess. So that's that. Then we also do have the next one up is we have presets for dungeons. And you might ask, why the freak would you need presets for dungeons? Well, there's one thing that I can think of. Well, actually two things. First one is that you can use this team, which in this case, I would use this team plus Unit X, and Unit X would be a leveling unit. Because these 4 units in the right build, not this build that I'm having over here right now, can still clear the whole thing. It's going to be like 30 seconds, 35 seconds. It's going to be a bit slower. But I can level that final unit in here, which is really nice because I haven't done that for a while because I am not running that team in typical sense anymore. And there's a lot of units, like all of these units that are level 1, I would like to make level 35 or level 40. Except for you, because fuck you, Agrius, you're no longer used for duplicates right now. But there's just a whole bunch of units, and I'm pretty sure in the storage I have more of those units that I would like to up, but I haven't up yet because I just normally always do that over there because that's the most effective way of using your energy without wasting anything. And then on the side of that, you can still have your... Wait, where is this? In attack and then... it's attack and then Kairos. Sure, we're attacking Kairos. 100% agree. And then you have your normal team in which you would hit your dungeon with. Then on the final thing, what can you do with the third one? It's more of a testing ground. Let's say you want to test something, but to be honest, I know all of y'all, you just wait until I make a video and then you just copy the video. So then you could also do, if you make that new team in a new one and you kind of like, I'm not sure if I can build it. You test it out in there, you can't build it, you just revert back to normal. So I guess you can kind of use it for that. So that's definitely a thing that I would say is pretty chill right there. You do also have them for these, which I can now throw my best runes at TOA, I guess. Will be nice for this team to throw best rage set at it or something. Temple of Chaos, you can actually re-rune while being, or while Temple of Chaos is not active, which is pretty nice as well. Plus, this is gonna probably make a lot more people play Temple of Chaos. Thing you have to keep in mind is that every element is slightly different and slightly niche than another element for how much crit rate does a Daragon have and that kind of shit. So what you can do is just, even if it's wind, you still go in with your Daragon with 100 crit rate and those kind of things. Or maybe you have to switch out 1 or 2 units, so you make a few variations. Let's say you're fighting wind, then you don't use the Sabrina in here, but you just save this whole lineup with like a slight variation on that, so you don't have to rerune too much for it. That is my recommendation over there. Then we also do have, all of these Rift of Worlds, Dimension Hole, all of that shits have their own thing. We also have a third save state with an F instead of a V for absolutely no freaking reason. And probably someone already wrote that in the comments, but I don't give a shit. You know exactly what I mean. For runes set in here, which just gives you a little bit more of a testing ground as well, where you can still have your special league thing runed up, which is kind of weird because for 20 stars and for 4 stars and for pre-ban RTA, all of the special leagues should probably use something slightly different, but that is a thing. So that is something out there. Then the big question is, do you still use your default runes? Well, to be honest, no, because every dungeon you rune right now will be through decks. Every siege offense you rune right now will be through decks. So the only thing that still use your default runes is, I guess, 2 things. World Boss, and if you want to have multiple defenses at the same time. I think that that is about it, what is there. One thing that I actually do still want to mention that I haven't mentioned just yet, and let's see if I can find a good example over here. Let's say we hit this, we hit that, and let me find a unit. Do I have no relic? Let's say that I'm putting a deck in with units that don't have relics. You don't have a relic, right? You do have a relic. You don't have a relic, right? You don't have a relic. Let's say I save this as a deck. I rune up this dude with the deck and everything, and yeah, you get whatever. You get 2 runes because you're not worth any more than that. 2 runes. Apply. What do you mean? Rune is already in use. Your face is already in use. This, sure. Okay, over here, we saved that. Yep, we saved that. Perfectly fine. Did not mean to go in over there, but yep. Let's go up, prepare. Yep, we can use, we can no longer use the deck. Also, I guess that this rune unit, therefore, is unruned again after that. Okay, not. But we want to add this in a preset. So, we save this in a preset. But then we notice later, oh, it was already in preset. Then we notice at some point, it's like, yo, but I don't have a relic on this thing. If you go over here, normally you can apply the relic, but now you can't. If you go over here, you added the deck, and you go in the management over here, and you don't unclick that unit, because that's not what we're supposed to do. We manage that unit, we go into runes, there's no relic option over here. So if you do want to apply a relic while you're in this screen already ready for battle, only way to apply that is actually going through the unit over here, and then applying the relic in here, and the relic is like globally on your account, and that's the only way to apply the relic to it. So you cannot go through the manager to get that. You actually have to do that, like find the unit in here and then apply the relic. So that is pretty much the same thing, but the relic is the only thing that's like further on, like fully global, RTA, every deck, everything. Relics never copy. Relics are always the same across the whole board of whatever and wherever you use that. So I got like yapping for 24 minutes. I think I covered all of the grounds about the new decks. As I mentioned, I think that this is the best update since auto farming. I would also say don't get too crazy right away with trying to rerune everything, because as I mentioned, there's like 8-9 different dungeons that you can do. There's like 25 siege offense hits. There's your defense here, defense there. There's a lot of shit to rerun. So I would say take it as you're stepping into a different content. The moment you're making content switch of like, hey, I'm going to be farming PC or SF or raids right now, then I will also rune that up. Same for Siege, just go as you go. It's like, hey, I made a Siege hit, let me rune that up, let me apply that in here. Probably remove all decks that you currently have, or just have them as like a reminder of whatever you used before. And take it step by step. Don't be, today I have to rerun my whole account and rerun every content, because I think if I want to do all of this shit properly, I am busy for another like 20 hours at least. And that's a long time. And not everyone has that kind of time. We do also have this surprise shop. So what is here to buy? You could buy these tickets to get these things. They're a little bit cheaper, but it kind of depends like how far you want to go through spending your crystals. I'm currently sitting at 22k crystals. But I'm not by all means going to be as like, yeah, I'm buying these and that and everything. So let's see what I say is actually a really proper buy, rather than just like, oh, you're just a gamble buy thing-ish. All of those scrolls, personally, not the biggest offense. I could make the argument for Devilmon, especially for early game accounts, that those are pretty nice. Things that give energy are kind of decent-ish, but all of those, I don't really like them. This one, however, this one is good. This one you always get. It is good value on your Dimensional Hole energy, because you even get more Dimensional Hole energy than you normally get your Dimensional Hole energy from like refreshes. So definitely do get this one for energy and all of that stuff. On early game accounts, like especially if you're starting a first day account, this one in particular to get fight runes. This one is absolutely fucking goated. I would even say for mid to semi-late game accounts that are always saying like, oh, but I don't have fight runes, I don't want to get fight runes. Buy this shit. Buy all 5 of them. It is so worth to get 3,000 of this material to just buy fight runes. Is it worth for the other ones? I am not 100% sure. You could make the argument for a dungeon you're normally not farming. Let's say you never really farm dragons, but you want to get some fire runes in there. This is not that bad of a buy then as well. Or let's say you never farm necro, but you need some will runes. This is decent buy. This one, maybe not really, but these are all pretty solid in value. These are all trash, would never get those. Definitely do get everything that costs mana, because fuck mana, no one needs mana. Especially now all of your reruning is mana free as well. Then all of these, I would just only get them if you have like an ungodly amount of crystals and you don't like farming. So for Benny and those kind of people. Outside of that, all of these things, this is you can select the main property. Is okay. Wait, this is one of those where you can buy the fight rune, and then if you do this just for science, you go for crit damage 4, and then that kind of stuff. It is nice if you need a specific target on that, but then you see this thing and you just get disappointed out there for absolutely the lowest stats, and if that's really worth 100 crystals. Kind of up to you, and also once again how much crystals you have. These two wouldn't really get those. The Devilmon for 100, especially early game, I would absolutely buy that. On this account, I have way too many of those, so I'm definitely not going to buy that. The Dimensional Energy, absolutely buy. Energy, absolutely buy. And everything else is kind of up to you how much crystals you want to burn through this shit. So for me personally, I won't be getting all too much of those, because I feel like that a value of just an LD scroll for 1,000 crystals, in my opinion, is not really worth it. But maybe at some point I feel trigger happy and I buy a few of those. But in the end, I think that these are kind of expensive prices for just a one scroll thing. But then again, this kind of stuff which gives you farming material, and this kind of stuff which you normally put into like farming in the first place. Especially this one. This one I might even buy on my account, in all honesty. Like, my fight runes are pretty decent, but they're not crazy good. This is a very substantial buy for fight runes. This I would recommend. This is going to be bought on my alt instantly. So that's the whole video for today, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. If you have any questions, let them know in the comments down below. Or join the Discord. I don't know. Well, just in progression help, I think that is the best spot to put any of those kind of questions. Progression help. Maybe I'll make some pre-deck or like pre-decks help, but I think over time people will understand this. Just put it to progression help or something like that. Guys, thanks a lot for watching for this one. I hope it cleared up a whole bunch of stuff for the pre-decks and the presets, and definitely do use this kind of stuff. And that is very nice. Wait, did they remove relics from the ancient crystal shop? I'm pretty sure they didn't. Would be weird if they did. Crystal shop, relics, no, it's still here and it's still there. So don't be a potato. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. See you as always later. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.